Welcome. I'm Terry Cook. You're watching Hamilton's Vital Signs. We're back, and it happens to be National Philanthropy Month, and it's a great time for us to talk about giving and what it means to the community. And I am so thrilled to welcome Chris Farias from Kite String, a great ad agency in town that did their 60th rebranding for the Community Foundation. Sarah Murphy, a partner with CIBC Wood Gundy and a former board member at the Hamilton Community Foundation, and Ninh Tran, who is a fund holder at the foundation, but also the Associate Medical Officer of Health in the City of Hamilton. And traditionally, when we think about philanthropy, we think about old, rich, white guys. And this is obviously not your father's or mother's charitable foundation or cross-section of givers. And I'm just curious, when you hear the term philanthropy, Sarah Murphy, what does it mean to you?
Exactly that, I guess. Sometimes I think of the Warren Buffetts and Bill Gates of the world, but I guess generally to me, the first thing that comes to mind is giving back.
And where did that come from?
I think just at the core, it's always been giving back. And then, over time, the word philanthropy just ended up getting attached to it, sort of in that order.
Chris, what does it mean to you?
Up until last year, it meant exactly what you said it meant at the beginning. Old, white, rich guys. And I got a call from actually Business for the Arts, which is a national organization. They're like, oh, just so you know, you won a National Philanthropy Award. And I was like, first of all, I was surprised that I picked up the phone because I never pick up the phone. And then I was like, what do you mean Philanthropy Award? So it's really changed in the past year for me. I think it really means giving back in a way that you can, and also using the resources you have around you to do so. So not necessarily just writing that check, but how can you rally people to get support?
Can you just tip up your pant leg there?
These socks, Terry, I did this for you because I know you always wear such fancy socks on the show. This is for Movember because I cannot grow a mustache as much as I try. I thought I'd wear some mustache socks.
Jared would be very proud.
He would be very.
I'm just saying.
He would.
You just put
he helped me pick these out. He did.
Well done. Ninh, talk to me about your vision of what does philanthropy mean to you, and how did you come to think about your own giving?
Yeah, I've always thought of philanthropy as the same as what Sarah and Chris mentioned in terms of giving back. And there's probably a stereotype of the type of person, but there's two parts of giving back. Like a lot of people, and I used to do this too in terms of volunteering, and then giving back in terms of philanthropy was more specific to me in terms of providing resources or financial. And I think like my beliefs and my passions have always been the same, like in terms of trying to want to help back, give back to the community. I think what has changed since I've become more established career-wise is I have more financial resources and I live a more modest lifestyle to be able to provide some more financial support and resources, which it is a shame because I see so much time is spent from other organizations fundraising, and it's like. And that's, people have time, but not enough money or financial resources. So I thought, given my current situation, I can help out with that. So it's giving back, and I guess in terms of the best way each person can. So I've just chosen a different way at this point in my career, giving back.
And time sometimes is hard to come by. And Sarah, you're a young mom. You've got 2 daughters. But you did something really unique. You and your husband did something around your wedding that became a giving event. And I want you to just talk a little bit about that.
So when we were getting married, we were not spring chickens. We weren't that old, but yeah, we were in our 30s. So, the idea of needing a toaster or dishes, that type of thing, we were already set up, and that was sort of what I thought of weddings and registries. So my husband and I were talking and saying that, we really felt we had everything we needed, but understood that our guests might want to contribute. So we started a fund at the Community Foundation, and it was really nice to see. Our guests did contribute to the fund, and we didn't even ask them to, really. We just said, if you feel obliged to do something around our wedding, here's an idea. We don't really need anything. We appreciate you just coming and being here with us during the day. But a lot of people did send checks in, and we started the Conducive Fund from that.
Amazing. Christopher, your entree into development and a fund was around digital literacy, and you did something quite remarkable, and I want you to tell us about the genesis of that idea and how we connected, we being the foundation and you being this creative force in Hamilton.
So I think we started working together, Kite String and the Hamilton Community Foundation, a few years ago, and I was really inspired by all these different funds. You know, I'm helping to lay out this annual report, and I'm seeing this fund and that fund and this fund, going through and making changes and edits to the annual report. And I'm thinking, oh, I want to be involved. I want to create something, a legacy piece. And how can I do that? And I started just put that in the back of my brain, and I realized really quickly that there's digital literacy is a lot like literacy was, where only certain people could at the time read and write, and now only certain people can use technology to create, to modify, to apply for jobs, all of those things. And I saw it not only from my business partner, Jen, her kids, who know how to, from the age of 2, know how to flip the phone on, how to go into apps and do all these things. So they're ahead of the game. And then there's people like my mother, who is really kind of behind the game, where she's calling me all the time asking, how do I hook this up? Why do I have a virus? So I wanted to help people who were kind of getting left behind. So we created the Hemant Forever Fund, my agency, along with 2 other agencies, Double Barrel Studios, which is a video company, and Brave New Code, who's a web developer. We came up with this idea of crowdfunding to create a fund, and we did that through Indiegogo. We did it over 2 months, and we had a lot of people, when we announced that we were doing this, come on board and say, we're going to match funds. For every dollar raised, we're going to give $1. And I believe at the end of the day, we raised, together with the matching, I think $22,000, just over $22,000, which is terrific for 2 months in a crowdfunding type style. And one of the biggest challenges, I think, was to get people to understand how important digital literacy is, where we were doing posts and we were trying to communicate what we were doing, and a lot of people were saying, well, it's Christmas, why am I not donating food? Why are we not giving money to children who need warmth? And it's like, yeah, you should be giving to those things for sure, but here's other things that you can do too. Just because one thing, you can donate to this thing doesn't mean you can't donate to this thing, or at least share, spread the word, tell people about it. So it's been really exciting to go through that process, and now we have a fund at the Hamilton Community Foundation, and I think the fund, someone's actually going to be using the fund for the first time, which is the Pinky Lewis Community Center, and they're going to be hiring someone to teach children how to use computers. So
gotta love that.
It's terrific. I got to go there and visit them and see the actual lab, and they gave me like a breakdown of the center and what they're going to do, and I was just so inspired by it, and thinking like, oh, I apologize, I'm just taking up all of your time, Terry. Just inspired as a kid to...
You're verklempt.
I am. I'm just so inspired. My first opportunity in high school, like grade 9, was there was a Mac there, and my teacher was like, go ahead, use it. Nobody else is using it, use it. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't get to have an opportunity of playing around with that Mac. And I want other kids to experience that so they can get inspired.
Yeah, one of the really neat things in getting to do the work we get to do is it's not about convincing folks that you should support our cause or our end objective. It's about what inspires you. Where is the difference that you think you can make? And then your work is in public health. So you deal with some very challenging issues, particularly around concentrated poverty in inner city neighborhoods. And I want to ask, where in the course of your professional life have you kind of taken lessons that have informed what you're trying to do philanthropically?
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of what I've learned professionally. My passion has always been about education. My parents have given me, they came to Canada without much money, but they always provided me support in terms of providing education and giving me opportunities. And I think what I've learned through my work as a family doctor and through the work of the city is seeing that there are particular areas in the city of Hamilton where not only people aren't living 25 years compared to other neighborhoods, but there are concentrated pockets where the high school graduation rates are remarkably lower in some areas, which I've always taken for granted. I always thought that you needed that, and that some people, because of their financial situations, they don't see the hope, aren't getting that. I wanted to be to provide an opportunity to those kids who are doing it. And then, being part of my professional work to see, what other organizations are doing, some best practices, understanding different groups that are providing funds. I think I met Terry actually through one of my work contacts, and that's how I got introduced to the Community Foundation and sharing the idea of developing people. So I think what's it's rewarding working in that type of profession is seeing all the help you can do, but then it is also sobering to see how much work there is left to do, and to see that I can only make a small dent, and I think we all would have to work collectively to start addressing the issues of poverty and concentrated poverty. And so I think what I've done, because I know I still have a lot to learn, is I started off small in terms of I put money in, but rather than the grant all right away, is like leave it in there, continue to learn about best practices, what other groups are doing, and as time goes on, continue to grant more and more money as I have become more informed of the actual issues that are facing Hamilton. But it's been...
Thank you all for that. Believe it or not, we're halfway out of time, so we're going to go to a brief commercial break. Chris Farias, Sarah Murphy, and Ninh Tran. We'll be right back. I'm Terry Cook, and you're watching Hamilton's Vital Signs.
In Canada, more than 13 million volunteers contribute over 2 billion hours every year. Volunteers support us in everything we do, and communities thrive because of it. At Volunteer Canada, we encourage and strengthen community involvement. We work with a broad range of partners to promote and support our shared vision of a vibrant Canada. To learn more, visit thenewvolunteer.ca, your connection to Canada's volunteering community.
Possibility. It starts early, before we even know what it is. There's no best before date. It stays with us. When we're down, it shows up unannounced. But it doesn't happen by itself. Behind every changed life is someone who made it happen. Together, we are possibility.
And we're back. I'm Terry Cook. You're watching Hamilton's Vital Signs, and I'm with Dr. Ninh Tran, the Associate Medical Officer of Health from the City of Hamilton, Sarah Murphy, former board member at the Foundation, and now with CIBC Wood Gundy. Actually, you've been there all along. And Chris Farias from Kite String. By the way, commercial plug, the sock off was won by Chris, and we want to credit Aaron Newman at Newman's Menswear in Hamilton. He's going to have to top up the wardrobe and see if we can just bring it up a notch for the Fashion Maven Award, because I'm disappointed about that. I want to talk about what inspires you and the experiences you've had, but Sarah, I'm going to start with you, because I know you're the mom of 2 young girls, and at some point, as parents, one of the conversations we inevitably have is, how are we going to use this experience to inform and involve our kids, the next generation, in that spirit of giving back? Have you thought about that?
I have a bit. I've been trying a little bit with my girls. It's like anything. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes not so much. And I think the whole part when Jeff and I started the fund was, we weren't married at the time yet, we didn't have children yet, but that this would grow and change with us. And, you sort of embark on things and you have no idea how they're going to turn out, but you just know that overall it's going to be a good experience. So I think it's the same thing with our kids, and, from day-to-day things to the overall bigger picture, just trying to get them involved and give them the same, I guess, sort of upbringing I had. My parents were really active in the community, and so I definitely want to pass that on to my kids. Yeah,
and as a parent, the challenge is always, how do you avoid that sense of entitlement, right? That we live at a certain level and have expectations that aren't shared by many in our community, and we need to be mindful of that and have not only empathy, but a commitment to trying to make a difference. Ninh, I want you to talk briefly about your first granting experience, because you talked earlier about trying to struggle between competing goods in the community when there's so much need and a limited well of resources.
Yeah, it was a very tough experience, because there's so many good organizations out there, and I knew what area I wanted to focus on in terms of education, but I needed to rely on people who knew a lot more than me. So that's why I asked the Community Foundation and Jill to, had a discussion in terms of what we wanted to accomplish, and then to help. So she helped me screen out some potential opportunities, and then the neat experience is going out and seeing the different programs. In particular, one that we're decided to do the grant to was the Neighbor. I think it's I think it's called Kids Can Succeed. It was that type of program. Going through, seeing what programs they offer, the actual impact, asking some tough questions, and then it was great having that opportunity to make that grant, seeing the report back in terms of what it accomplished, meeting up with the kids later. I think it was a tough decision to make it, because I think there's a lot of very valuable organizations, but it was a very rewarding experience. And I think the year after, then I wanted to not only give back to that organization, but I wanted to expand in terms of another organization to provide grant to. But it was, it is tough to make that type of decision, but it is rewarding as well.
So let me segue from that, because on the how do you put a fund together side, Chris, you were able to marry some of your wacky, creative, just inspiration with the desire to enlist supporters and contributors. And I want you to talk a little bit about, because your process was unique with the hashtag Hemant Forever Fun, that it wasn't just you launching it, you were inviting the community to be a part of it. So
as a creative director, my main job is to come up with ideas, but I also have to figure out how to get everybody on board and excited and find ways to educate people on why this idea is interesting or important or worthy. And we have a great social media community in Hamilton, on Twitter, on Facebook, and I've got a lot from them. I've got help from them. It's become almost my water cooler as an entrepreneur, where you go to Twitter to find out what are people doing, how can I get help for this, that, and the other. And I wanted to bring that community together. So we actually launched it on Giving Tuesday last year, and we launched it with a musical that that was on YouTube and was shared through Twitter and Facebook, and it was a lot of different social media influencers and just people in the community that you just knew on social media were part of the musical video, and also using a lot of people's their handles in the video to just put them into it already to get them involved. So that was one aspect, and that really took off, and people just loved it and shared it and just thought it was a really great idea, and it explained what the fund was about. We did everything from, we did a panel at our studio, you were involved in the panel, to educate people on why digital literacy is important. And then at the end of it, I think the very last day of the fund, we did a full day telethon, online telethon, kind of like the old Jerry Lewis style, where it was basically, I think, 12 hours of everything from the mayor of Hamilton came on to talk about digital literacy. We had different businesses. We had someone who did face painting and bubble making and just got people excited, and we got a lot of donations that day through the telethon. So it was just constantly getting people excited about it, not letting it die, and involving people in it. It was just super exciting.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. So before we run out of time, I want to just turn the perspective for a minute from what have you done and what's it all about to be a philanthropist to what has this given you? Because the great secret I find in terms of our family giving and the charitable things that I've been involved with is it tends to make you feel really good. There are things that strengthen or inform who you are, you learn things, you get inspired by your involvement. And I want to ask each of you to just briefly touch on what about this has moved you as an individual. And Ninh, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, it's definitely been a worthwhile experience in terms of it does make me feel better about myself in terms of being able to give back, but it does force you to do a bit of a self-reflection in terms of what do I really value. There's so many different options out there. I had to narrow down in terms of what do I really believe in, and I think that was quite a bit of work and self-reflection in terms of, because there's to narrow it down to, okay, I really believe in education, I really believe in giving those who don't have the resources to do it. I want to do it early, closer to elementary or secondary, to get them to do things that are more evidence-based, to get them to attend post-secondary. So it makes you made me think about what kind of person I am, what I believed in, and it was a really good experience.
Thank you. Sarah, what about this has moved you?
I think part of it, and just seeing it now with my kids, is, you know, sometimes there's this culture of scarcity. And I always find any time I've done giving, both with the foundation or, you know, in previous ways, it always fills me with a sense of there's more abundance, be it hope, joy, that desire to change things. And so, you know, now with my girls, that's the one thing I'm really trying to sort of hammer in is, if you share your cookie, there's as many cookies as you want. I mean, you know, it's silly, but I think it's just that area of there is so much that you get back, so much more, be it relationships, people you connect with, you know, positive outcomes that can come from it. So that's really what sort of drives, I think, what we look at as a family when we're doing our philanthropy.
Amazing. Christopher?
I really believe that I owe it to the community to do something. Growing up in a really small town,
Where was that?
Kingsville, Ontario. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kingsville. It's the most southern town in all of Canada, next to Leamington. It was a small town, it was a small community, and you were always doing something. I would watch my mom, or I would watch my dad or my grandparents doing something for someone without being asked to do it or to get something in return. And my grandma always said, you know, we give back because you never know when it's going to be you that's going to need it. And I take a lot from my community. I do. I go out and I get so much I get inspired by it, and I just feel like I need to give back to the community that I live in, because not only am I getting something from that community, I might need it one day. We all might. We're fooling ourselves if we don't think that we might not need it one day. So
what would you say to folks who are out there who are kind of afraid of the whole language of philanthropy?
Well, yeah, it's a scary word, but I think that everyone has something to give, whether it's your time, your treasure, or your talents. You can give something to someone. It does not have to be big. It can be the smallest little act, but it will make you happy.
Thank you. Thank you all. Believe it or not, we're out of time. And I want to simply say two things. One is I'm grateful for your time here today and sharing your wisdom with our viewers. To Ninh, Tran, to Sarah Murphy, and to Chris Farias, what isn't well known to our community and to folks who wouldn't know you personally is the passion you bring to your volunteer work, to the sense of the difference we can make in Hamilton, and particularly to the work you've done on behalf of the Community Foundation. So it's my pleasure on behalf of the community to say thank you in a small way for the difference that you are making, and to encourage you to continue to provide the leadership that you've provided. So with that, I'm Terry Cook. You've been watching Hamilton's Vital Signs. We will be with you again next month, but let me, as always, say that if you're interested in this broadcast or in any of the work we're doing at the Foundation, you can go to our website at hamiltoncommunityfoundation.ca. You can follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. This is National Philanthropy Month, and it's been my pleasure to welcome and talk with these great guests and leaders in our community. Over and out. We'll see you next month.